Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. And in this video, we're going to have a look at the whole concept of robotic affirming. So this question was put to me about robotic affirming, and I thought I would do a quick video on it just to kind of get an understanding around the concept. So when we look at robotic affirming, I know that from my own experience anyway, any kind of information that I came across on robotic affirming was in a kind of a vein, I suppose, repetition, and to keep the affirmation in our mind 24/7, to keep our mind focused on the affirmation 24/7. And from my own experience in how that kind of worked out for me was that it was actually easier for me to understand robotic affirming as something that is repeated every day. So what I mean by this is that rather than actually focusing 24/7 on one affirmation, I would actually take whatever time throughout my day, whether it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes, to do my affirmations. To me, in this moment, this is robotic affirming because we're repeating it in the moment. When I have blanket affirmations, for example, everything is benefiting me in some way, everything is working out in my favor, I'm learning something here, so this is working out in my favor. These affirmations are for when my mind may waver throughout the day. I would repeat them, as well as the affirmations that I use at whatever time of the day that I sit down to robotically affirm. So for me, this is what robotic affirming means. And when we look at the idea of vain repetition, for me, that is a concept where we are saying the one affirmation without actually really having a opinion about it, without actually doing anything about it, without actually believing in the outcome of it happening. So the difference between vain repetition and robotic affirming is that the vain repetition is something that we are kind of forcing into our mind, and we're kind of focused more on the forcing it into our mind to create the belief. And that is kind of what we're manifesting in that moment. It's like a vain kind of activity. But when we use robotic affirming is actually more beneficial, because robotic affirming is something that we do at a period of time in our day where we sit down and we repeat it in a way that we are either meditating on it, scripting on it, and visualizing on it for maybe about 10 or 15 minutes throughout our day. We're also using a mental diet as well too, as part of the robotic affirmation, because robotic is kind of implying repeat. So it's a repeated kind of a habit and routine on the same affirmations that we are using in order to create a result. So for me, when I look at robotic affirmation, for me, it is the effective way, because we don't have to use it 24/7. We can if we want. However, I found from my own experience that this didn't really work too well for me. Maybe it works for others, but it's just that when we are using one affirmation for 24/7, for me anyway, on my journey, it felt that I wasn't focusing on my mindset. So for example, when I want to create, more wealth, or you want to create a relationship or things like that, I kind of look at the whole mindset around it. So when we look at the mindset around it, it means that we're creating that kind of sustainability within us, that understanding that who we are is actually the person who maintains and sustains this. So rather than affirming 24/7 and trying to force it into my mind that I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I will have a period of time in my day, it's usually the morning time, when I would script out a load of different affirmations that all imply a mindset of wealth. For me, this is ingrained more. It allows me to open my mind more to more possibilities. And when we're actually repeating affirmations, what we're doing is opening new neurons in our brain, and that opening is the opening of the possibility of this experience happening. So over a period of time, usually about 3 days, you will find that the belief starts to sink in. And when the belief starts to sink in after a period of 3 days of repetition, you kind of feel that shift within. And for me, it can happen when we're like 24/7, but it's not a requirement. I actually think that when we think of robotic affirming, that it should be something that is seen in a healthy way, in a way that we take a little bit of our time in the day to connect with those affirmations, and we repeat them in that few minutes, 15 minutes in that time. And that can be our robotic affirming. And then we go on with our day, and any wavering thoughts, then we have affirmations that we jump onto and cancel out the kind of wavering thought. So this done, as I say, over a period of 3 days is when you will find the shift is more effective than thinking about vain repetition. So vain repetition is the opposite. It's like we're forcing something into our mind in order to create the belief. And when we are forcing something, it can, from my own experience, I it might not be around anyone else's experience, but from my own experience, forcing things in was actually creating anxiety and stress in my nervous system. So as I know, I talk a lot about the nervous system on this channel, and it's because the nervous system is when it's out of balance, it's going to start causing anxiety and stress, and the thoughts then that we are continuing to think about are not going to be as fun and enjoyable, because that's what it's really all about. It's about enjoying what it is that we are manifesting. And so when we actually come into the definition of robotic affirming and vain repetition, then we can see the difference. And then we know that we can actually start to see a shift within 3 days if we are diligent in our routine and our habits. Because, we can manifest things by just saying, I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. But if I manifest the money that I want in with the mindset, like if I win the lotto or anything with just saying that I am rich, I'm not going to have a good mindset around money if I don't look at all the areas where I maintain and sustain the wealth, if that makes sense. Because we start to create the belief that we are rich, but we have about 70,000 thoughts a day. So like we have a lot of other thoughts that start to creep up and everything as well. And so when we are actually wanting to create and maintain a healthy kind of lifestyle in this idea of whatever it is that we're creating, we want to have a mindset that maintains and sustains it. And so that's kind of what we are doing when we are changing the mindset. Remember that when we are using affirmations that we have never maybe experienced before, we're creating new plasticity within the brain. So it's neuroplasticity. And this kind of happens when we are awakening something in the brain. So in the live, we were talking about this, and I was given the example of if you are somebody who is right-handed and you hardly use your left hand as strong as you would your right hand. If you give yourself 3 days of just using your left hand and didn't use your right hand, your left hand would become stronger. You start to form this habit and then the brain picks it up. It's like awakening that use in the mind. Okay, the left hand is being used more. And so that's what's happening when we're using affirmations. It's like the mind is saying, oh, okay, so we're rich now. So I'm going to start looking now and attracting this money in. And that's kind of what we are doing then with the repetition. So when it comes to robotic affirming, it doesn't mean that we are pounding affirmations in and forcing them into our subconscious in order to believe them. It's more about the repetition that we do every day in our habits and our routines, and how we continue to do these whether or not we are seeing it in our reality. So until it manifests. But even when it manifests, you might feel like you want to continue with doing some affirmations, because I know from my own journey that I just love doing the affirmations because of the piece that I have created from them over the past couple of years, and also as well to the way your brain just bounces into the positive now and something negative happens because of the repetition that you do over a period of time. So robotic affirmation is effective and it's always effective, but it doesn't mean that we're doing it 24/7. It just means that we're being repetitive in whatever it is that we are creating, whatever it is that we are affirming. And then the vain repetition is something that we are just forcing into our mind without even having the we're creating stress and anxiety within ourselves, and that, it's not a requirement. So when we use robotic affirming, it can be seen as when we actually sit down and have the time to just meditate on the affirmations. Or if you're someone who listens to affirmations at night, I mean, that can be seen as a robotic affirming, because you're listening to them at night and you are doing this over a few days or a few weeks. And so that is robotic affirmation. It's really just the repetitive kind of process of how you're actually creating these beliefs within your mind. So I hope this video helps. If you have any questions, you can comment down below, and I will chat to you soon.